and sewer per incident, not per year. It is very rare that we would go over that. It typically is a very large home with a very expensive driveway, and the only way we can get to the problem is to break through that driveway. That's when we see the expenses more than $4,000. But here are a list of just some of the cities that are enrolled in the program. Again, we have 2 in Oklahoma, several others that are interested. We have 2 campaigns, and when I say campaign, 2 times a year we send a letter out, in the spring and in the fall. We do not call your homeowners. We simply send a letter out. If they want to enroll, they can do so online or through the letter, or they can call us. Again, we take the calls, we do the billing. It's important to understand we don't tie in your billing. We are no burden on the city at all. We just want to have this program available with the city's backing. We will not and cannot send a letter or enroll one of your households without the city's endorsement. So that's part of our deal with the National League of Cities. And I wanted to show, I have a slide here of how much money we're saving different communities. In Atlanta, we've already saved their homeowners $700,000, and right at 2 years. Lawton, the number is actually up now, almost to $200,000. 200 in Abilene. Prairie Village, Kansas, a community that is maybe has 6,000 households. We've already spent $125,000, and they only have they're only responsible for sewer, so they only have one product. Last year was and the year before, those were the first 2 years that we have seen more claims because of drought conditions and ground shift than of aging infrastructure. So in Texas and Oklahoma, we've seen an exorbitant amount of claims just because of that. We are an A+ BBB rated company, and again, the program is 100% optional. We have a customer satisfaction survey that we send to every homeowner that has a repair done. We get 43% of those back, and of those 43%, we have a 97% customer satisfaction rating, and 100% of our respondents said that they felt the city brand was strengthened by this partnership. And 100% of our cities that are in our program have said that they would recommend this program to another city. We do not redline in this program. If some of you are familiar with that term, other companies will do that where they pick out certain, either the very elderly or the very rich, and that's where they would send their solicitations to for whatever product it may be. Through this program, through National League of Cities, we send a letter to everybody. Anybody that wants to participate can participate. And then finally, there is a portion. We take 10% of all the monies that we would collect from any participants in the city, and the city has an option to take that and put it towards beautification, sustainability, any type of project that the city would like to fund. This would generate anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 a year back to the city. It is not world-changing money, and but 50% of our cities will take that and put it towards a city program. The other 50% will pass on the royalty, and if they do that, then we would discount the water line warranty, which is about $6 a month. We would then make that about $5.50, and the sewer line, which is $8 a month, we'd make that about $7.50. So we would take 50 cents a month off of each product for the homeowner. They can, again, spring is when we would send the sewer line letter, and fall is when we would send the water line letter. And I tried to give you the 60,000-foot overview, but I'd love to answer any questions you might have.
What about any kind of natural disasters? I know that you wouldn't think that we would have that issue, but earthquakes?
Oh, yes, yes. Earthquakes would not be covered. So the catastrophic disasters, for instance, like the city of San Diego, if they had an earthquake, which I was in an earthquake there in 1992, let's say that damaged a bunch of lines, but they were still working, but over time they started to fail, we would cover that. If a neighborhood was wiped out and every home at that time needed a sewer line replacement, then we would not. That would be considered an act of God.
Okay.
I will tell you that over 7 years, and this is my favorite stat, we've denied less than 2% of all of our claims. What we say we will do is make sure that the homeowner's water and sewer line is restored to service. If there's a stoppage of service, we fix it. that 2% or less than 2% where we don't fix line, we haven't had the catastrophic event yet. What we have had are homeowners that don't pay. It's a month-to-month deal. So they drop out, they go, missing for 9 months, and then they have something happen, and they say, well, I had this program, and they will call us and try to get us to cover it. And we have the right to deny their claim if they do that. The other is if it is if there is a branch line that services a swimming pool or a hot tub, it's not their main service line. We're covering the main water and the main sewer line. So those are the two reasons that we would deny a claim.
A lot of these homes and more have two service lines serving the house.
They have one for like a swimming pool.
No, it goes inside the house. There's a trunk line for the restrooms, and a 2-inch line serving the kitchen sink and the utility.
And those both connect to the meter?
Well,
Or are they both metered?
Sanitary sewer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They connect outside of the house, but they're both stubbed in the residence.
Sure, we would cover that, absolutely. We even have situations like in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where you have what we call spaghetti lines. You have one going into a resident, and then some of the homes were built in the 1800s, and they branch off and have 4 or 5 lines that serve other independent homes. That gets a little trickier, but for what you described, absolutely, those would both be.
Does the homeowner have the option of using their car?
Yes, if the homeowner says, Bob's Plumbing here in Moore is my plumber, and that's what, they're in our network, then we'll do it, absolutely.
One of the things we have had over time is various companies, and I can't name them, but any of them, but we'll have people, all of a sudden, we'll get a bunch of calls from somebody wanting to know if the city's involved with this company that's representing that the city is sort of involved, or they're representing that the city is endorsing this or whatever, for the same kind of a thing. And we never have, of course, in the past, but I'm not so much interested in the revenue on the city side, but I think for $5 or $6 or $8 a month, a lot of our citizens would be well served to have something like this, frankly.
I just have one more question. If somebody has, they've had repeated issues with their plumbing, and the plumber comes out and he has found, roots in the pipes or something to that effect, would that disqualify them if they were to become a part of this?
The only thing that would disqualify them is when we make them sign up, they send back a little card, they have to sign their name that their line is in working order.
Okay.
And so if they tell us that, there's no way for us to know other than that there is a 30-day window before they're actually covered, just to protect us in case. Because we have people in the past, we used to cover from day one, and we found we would have quite a few claims within the first day.
Yeah.
So we've added that 30-day clause, but there's no pre-existing condition.
What were the costs again for the?
$6 a month for water and $8 for sewer. And if the homeowner signs up for a year, we will discount that another 10%.
Okay.
Is this just for residents, or is businesses allowed to be on this as well?
It is just for residential. And the primary reason, Mr. Mayor, is we cannot price that. We want to do commercial, but you have an attorney who offices out of an old historic home, and then you have the big publishing company, and it's hard for us to price those.
Okay. What does staff think on this?
Well, I wouldn't have brought it to you if I didn't think it was something I think that would benefit some of our homeowners. It's totally optional. But again, I think that in some of our older areas, particularly, it could be a lot of benefit.
I know.
The fact that it's, again, and also, I'm sorry,
No.
the fact that it's supported by OML, National League of Cities, entities that we know and we trust, then, that's important to me as well.
I would be real interested. I live in one of those older homes and had some issues, and as the plumber's out there working, I'm just thinking, oh no, how much is this gonna cost? So, sounds like
It would also
something-
help with issues where we've got people that, if they have the coverage, obviously, where we've got people, and had a lot of them over time, where they have leaking sewer lines or water lines, they can't afford to get them repaired. We go through code enforcement, try to push them to get them repaired, particularly if it's a sewer leak where it's causing a health hazard, and they simply just can't afford to do it. Until they've, saved up some money or borrowed money from grandma or whatever.
And so many times when these lines are repaired, they're not done to code. And that's another way our program, the plumbers have to make the repairs to code. And if there's a soft cost savings to the city as well, because right now, every time Mr. Eady's public work folks get a call from a homeowner, they have to go out, camera the line, see whose side it's on, if it's the city's. Well, now in our program, the homeowner calls us first. So if we had 30%, 25% enrollment, that's 25% of those calls that would now come to us. We dispatch the plumber. If the plumber finds out that it's on the city side, we still compensate the plumber, the homeowner doesn't. The homeowner never pays a service call or deductible. So then the plumber would tell us, and we would notify Public Works that the line was cameraed, it's on the city side, and the city can determine whether they want to move forward.
I think there's a lot of merit to it.
Does it compete with private insurance?
No, and I'll verify exactly what he said. The majority of the time when there's a problem, it's usually an age, wear and tear, that type of an issue, and that's specifically excluded under a homeowner's policy. And the $2,500 figure is the figure I continually seem to see around here as far as most of those lines being repaired, so, okay, I agree with everything that he said, yeah.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'd be interested in maybe just getting some input from some of those, the Stillwaters and Lawton. If maybe somebody from the city staff could call them and see what, if you haven't already done that.
We can do it, we've not done it, just, again, because I have confidence that it's a good product for us, but we can do that. If you all just approve us proceeding, then we'll do that, but it'll be an agreement or a contract with the company, and it'll be brought back to the council then for final approval.
Make a motion to approve this presentation?
All right,
Second
thank you.
that.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, appreciate it. We'll have a motion and a second on the item. Is there anyone who'd like to speak against it? No, would you call for the vote?
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus.
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 4 and 5 have been to us before at the last meeting, and these are amended ordinances. Do you know why they're amended? I forgot.
It's because the information on it is in terms of the publication. That they were gonna be placed in to notify the public was incorrect. So there's no change in the substance of the ordinances, the resolutions, the date of the election will remain the same in May. Everything's the same, they'll just be published in the Norman transcript rather than the More American.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve item
Second.
number 4.
Second.
All right, thank you. Thank you both. And I'll go ahead and read it. Consider amended ordinance number 741-13, granting to Oklahoma Gas and Electric Company a franchise for the installation, operation, and maintenance of an electric distribution system in the city of Moore and selling of electricity therein for a term of 25 years. And now we have a motion and a second. Anyone like to speak on this item? If not, would you call for the vote?
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 5 is consider adopting amended resolution number 75913, calling and holding of an election in the city of Moore for the purpose of granting a franchise to Oklahoma Gas and Electric for the installation, operation, and maintenance of an electric distribution system and the selling of electricity therein for a term of 25 years.
Make a motion to approve?
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this one? If not, we have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus.
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 6 is consider a lot split in the southeast quarter of Section 7, Township 10 North, Range 2 West, being north of Northeast 12th Street and west of Sunny Lane. Application by Justin Rhodes.
Mayor and council, I'm pinch hitting for Elizabeth. She's sick this evening. And this is part of that Sonoma Lakes, a new plat that's come in front of you here of late. It's located on Northeast 12th, just east of Lost Creek subdivision and west of Sunny Lane. And originally this property, there's a little bit over an acre involved. It's right in the southeast corner of the tract. It was incorporated into the R1 subdivision. However, after the fact, they realized there's an existing Conoco pipeline. So therefore, they had two options, either incorporate it into a common area as part of the plat or sell it off. It has frontage off of 12th Street for a private residence. And staff feels like that'd be the best option because it's located in the very southeast corner of the subdivision. It wouldn't be very handy for the property owners, and there'll be water and sewer to serve the site. There'll be access off of Northeast 12th. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
There was a lot of people here when we approved this that weren't happy with the size of the lots to begin with. They wanted 2.5 acre lots, and this is gonna be cutting it down even further.
Well, the lots that are incorporated into the plat are, they're regular R1 zone lots. They're not even an acre. They're probably a quarter of an acre.
Right. But everybody around them is 1.5 acres.
Well, that was the people out of Lost Creek. This is
Right.
on the east side, which it abuts the Regina and Decker area.
Okay. All right, I'm familiar with that area.
So you guys are okay with this?
Staff would recommend approval, just the location of the property, and it's not accessible for a lot of homeowners. The way the plat's laid out, they'd have to walk out to 12th Street to even access the property.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
Motion approved. And I'll
All right.
second it.
Thank you both. Any other discussion on this item? Anybody opposed to this, would like to speak on it? If not, we can call for the vote, please.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. At this time, item number 7 is considered rejecting all bids on bid number 1213-008, Communication Infrastructure Services for the City of Moore Public Safety Building, and rebid the cabling system, audio-visual system, and security system separately.
Mayor and council, we put this out for bid, and we got only one complete bid that included all three parts of that. We did get 2 other bids that were one part of that individual, and we got several people that told us that they did not have enough, it was too much for them. That all 3 parts were too much for them, and that they would have bid on it if we had it separated into 3 different ones. So since we did not get very many responses on it, that we want to split it up, reject the bids, and resubmit them as 3 separate bids.
Okay. Do we have a motion on that?
Make a motion that we approve.
All right.
Second.
All right, thank you. Thank you both. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item?
To reject the bids, right?
To reject.
To reject the
yeah.
bids? Okay.
How's that affect, coming on the timeline of, obviously you're hoping to,
It cuts a little closer on the timeline as far as the cabling, particularly the early cabling, but we think we'll be fine.
yeah.
Paperwork, when we talked to Apollo, they said they looked at it, it's doable, so we'll be tight, but we can happen.
Okay. With that being said, would you call for the vote, please?
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 8 is consider authorizing city staff to negotiate a contract and fees for the architectural design and engineering for the new community recreation center, outdoor aquatics facility, farmers market, multipurpose structures, amphitheater, handicap accessible playground, and walking trail in the new Central Park.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, following the November 6th park selection, staff began the next step in the process to develop the Central Moore Park. That next step is to select a design team to conduct the architectural and engineering work associated with that park. Staff prepared a request for qualifications, an RFQ, which asked design teams to submit their qualifications. We asked that each design team be composed of the following: a lead architecture firm, an aquatics designer, a landscape architect, and a civil engineer. We began that process in December. We formed a committee to review the submittals from each of the teams. It was the same committee that selected the Parks Master Plan consultant. That committee is composed of Councilmember Jason Blair, Parks Board Chairman Charles Payne, Parks Board member Eddie Vickers, and city staff members Stan Drake, Elizabeth Jones, and myself. We had 16 teams submit proposals. We interviewed 5. All 5 teams were, we felt, highly qualified. It became apparent to the committee very early on that the best firm in our mind was TAP Architecture of Oklahoma City. TAP Architecture, Anthony McDermott is here. He's the principal with TAP. They understand the project. Anthony had a business here in Moore for a long time. They're familiar with it. They have great ideas. They understand the importance of this whole project to the community. So we think that the work that they'll do and their team will do will be very worthwhile, and they'll do a great job. This item is just simply asking you all to authorize city staff to negotiate a contract and the fees associated with that contract for the design of the park. If things go according to schedule, we'll be back in March with a contract and fees in hand for you all's consideration. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and if it's particular to the team, I may refer you to Anthony. He's here, so between us, we should be able to answer your questions.
Is this process going to go a little easier than dealing with the sewer treatment facility where we keep getting dimed and nickeled and 500,000 to death?
You never can build a project of any size that there won't be a few change orders on, Councilman. I'm virtually confident, 100% of that. But hopefully it'll go smoothly.
I'm just curious what made them stand out above the other. You mentioned a few things, but what was it that they have experience in these types of projects,
parks, community centers, aquatic facilities. Their team, we felt like, was second to none. Anthony's familiarity with Moore, his love of Moore, his kids went to school here. He knows Moore. He understands this project. Their creativity, some of the ideas that they presented were second to none, we thought, and we think that they can do the job. But their team is just really exceptional. Their aquatic designer is one of the most well-known in the States. Their feasibility study component, Ballard King, who will do a feasibility study for the aquatic facility in the new community center, give us a business plan essentially, is they've done 500 or 600 of these throughout the states. Their landscape architect is just really wowed us with some of their ideas. So we just had a really good feel for them from the start, and they really stood out, and it was a pretty easy decision to make.
So they've worked on projects that are pretty similar to what we're doing then?
Yes, yes, yeah, they have.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion that we approve the staff to begin negotiating a contract
Okay,
with
thank you.
TAP.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item?
I'd just like to say thanks to those who sat on that committee, because I've done one. It's a lot of work and a lot of responsibility, so I appreciate the effort.
And I did talk to Jason today, and I think Terry, you talked to him as well, and he was in full support of the recommendations in the item tonight. So.
Are we going to talk to DEQ? You know, they were going to look at doing some processes for us on, or we already started that for the, if there's anything that we need to negotiate out on as far as environmental?
Oh,
because they had offered to help do that.
by the time we had talked to them, we'd already had our, what they call a phase 1 environmental done on the property down here. So there was no environmental issues that we found on the property.
Okay, good.
So there shouldn't be any need for that.
So Robert, there won't be any slowdowns.
Excellent.
All right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes. This is a very exciting project. I'm ready to see it go. So we can get on it. Okay, item 9 is consider adoption of resolution number 76013 pertaining to the general obligation bonds of 2013B approved by majority of qualified voters at an election held on November the 6th, 2012, fixing the amount of bonds to mature each year, fixing the time and place of bonds that are to be sold, and authorizing the clerk to give notice of said sale as required by law.
Make a
Chris
motion.
is here
Sure.
to present this to you all this evening, but this is the first phase, the first issuance of bonds for the new park project. So these bonds will be we'll be using the money to pay Mr. McDermott the fees, also for the land acquisition. Much of the site work will be able to be paid for with these dollars to do a lot of the site work up front. This is the balance of what we can issue this calendar year and still be, make qualified monies. But Chris, you can give them a little more detail on all of that. But again, this is a phase 1 issuance on the park bonds.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Great to be here with you. Mr. Eady covered a lot of it. Really, you have a resolution in your packet that really does one thing. It sets the date, time, and place for when you, the council, will receive bids for this first round of bonds. So in the resolution, we have tentatively set for your consideration March 18th, 2013 at 2 o'clock. The bid deadline will be 2 o'clock. The bids will be submitted to us as your financial advisor and also to Mr. Eady and Mr. Corbett. And then we would present those at your meeting that night at 6:30. That's really all this resolution does. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about it.
This motion we approve.
All right.
Resolution.
We still would expect to rate structure similar to the last issuance we would have.
Yes, sir. Just to give you a quick update, we sold bonds, now different length of maturity, but sold bonds for Norman Schools last week and got a 0.85 interest rate. And so that was a 5-year bond. This is going to be like a 12-year bond. So you may have to pay 1.25% or something. Interest rates are phenomenal.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. I don't know if we have a second, though.
First,
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, would you call for the vote?
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus.
Yes.
Kathy Griffith. Yes. Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item 10 is consider approval of employment agreements with Chris Cochran and Chris Gander of Bank of Oklahoma, or BOSC Incorporated, as financial advisor concerning general obligation bonds authorized by the November 6, 2012 election.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you both.
This will actually be for the entire amount of the bonds, so this item you won't see again, but obviously it'll be paid incrementally as the bonds are sold over the next 4 or 5 years.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, would you call the vote, please?
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith. Yes. Terry Kavner.
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Thank you. At this time, we'll recess the city council meeting and convene the Moore Public Works Authority meeting. Item 11 is the consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Public Works Authority meeting held February 4, 2013. Item B is approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2012-2013 in the amount of $525,071.39.
Move to approve.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Everybody get their claims questions answered? Any notes or changes to the minutes? If so, we have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith. Yes. Terry Kavner.
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we'll recess the Moore Public Works Authority meeting and convene the Moore Risk Management meeting. Item number 12 is the consent docket. Receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Risk Management meeting held February 4th, 2013. Item B is approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2012-2013 in the amount of $111,300.28.
Make a motion to approve?
All right, thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Anybody have any claims or questions or notes or changes to the minutes? If not, we have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith, Yes.
Mm.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we'll recess the Moore Risk Management meeting and convene the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting.
Item 13 is roll call.
Robert Kraus,
Present.
Jason Blair, Kathy Griffith, Here.
Glenn Lewis.
Here.
David Roberts.
Here.
Mark Ham.
Here.
Terry Kavner.
Here. Item 14 is the consent docket. Item A, to receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Economic Development Authority meeting held January 22nd, 2013.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Would you call the roll, please?
Robert Kraus.
Yes.
Kathy Griffith.
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes.
David Roberts.
Yes.
Mark Ham.
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes. Item passes. This time we'll recess the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting and reconvene the city council meeting.
All right, thank you. Item 15, let the record reflect that all the members that were present before are still present. Item A is citizens forum for items not on the agenda. There's no one signed up to speak. Would anyone like to? Okay, going. Item B is items from the city council or trustees.
Had a call from a citizen reps to school zones, and they felt like some of the school zones were quite large, and you get in the middle of it and you forget you're in a school zone. And they referred to Haida West, Santa Fe Elementary, Winding Creek, over by Moore High School. I don't know if they're, I've seen in some communities where they put, I'm sure they're very expensive, as everything seems to be. But the little double yellow lines, but they're actually lights that flash all throughout the entire school zone, similar to what we have on 4th Street at the crosswalk.
We have them at Southmore
Yeah.
High School as well,
Exactly.
and they are very expensive.
It may be just something to consider. I know we've done a lot of work on those streets, and hopefully we won't have to do anything in the future, but as we maybe rehab some of the streets or the school zones, look at possibly maybe doing something like that, or put some additional markings on the.
You can put pavement markings down, we can consider doing that, and you can even put some signage up, perhaps, just to remind people that they're in a school zone.
Okay, just something to look at and think about.
Sure.
That's all that I have.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Now, next week, new members get sworn in?
No,
Next.
it's April,
16th, is that
April
what-
15th, I believe, is the meeting date.
April,
Yeah.
okay.
It,
April
even
16th.
for those that, for Scott and for Jason, it'll still be that same
Okay,
date. And then, but it's, because it's after meeting, the next normal or regularly scheduled meeting after the general election is over with,
okay,
is the way it actually reads, so,
okay. I had a couple people last and I didn't really know
yeah,
what the new
April
system
15th
is.
for everybody.
Well, Scott Singer out there in the audience, he's gonna be here. And, welcome aboard. We appreciate it.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, with that being said, item C is items from the city manager or trust manager.
Just a couple of items, Mayor. One thing is that, just wanted to mention our residential street crew. They've been in Crestmore Edition now for several weeks, and I know that we've had quite a few calls from Crestmore Edition, and I think that's a good example of how those residential street repairs can really help the neighborhood. Like Crestmore, a little bit of an older area, but still quite a few original homeowners and second, third, fourth, 10th generation homeowners perhaps over there, but I think we got finished with most of Crestmore. There may be a little bit more that we come back to at a later date, because I think we've had a couple of calls, you didn't get to my street, but we're trying to get to everybody over some time. But if you have a chance, drive through Crestmore over there at 12th and Eastern on the north end of it. It really makes a difference over there. But we're going to be taking that street crew and beginning work on the new Parmalee Park, which is at 12th and Janeway, which is one of the new neighborhood parks and on the sales tax side of the parks projects. And that'll include parking, and it'll include a splash pad, a gazebo, a walking track, restroom and a playground over there. So you'll see that begin the next few weeks, I think, over there. I think that's going to be a very well received park, and no parks in that general part of the community. Another thing that I had emailed you all about that I'm pretty excited about, and that is that we're going to be able to make changes to the traffic signal lights over at Northwest 5th and Telephone I-35 to make those operate much more user-friendly and change those essentially without going into too much detail from a 5-phase operation to a 3-phase operation, so people will be moving through those significantly faster than what they had been. We had the traffic engineers relook at it, and I told them this is not going to work. We continue to have complaints, concerns from folks, and rightfully so, about the way that had been operating. So they said it'd probably take a couple of weeks for it to become operational, but you'll know. They'll definitely know whenever they go through over there. So I was glad to see that.
Anything else?
Just looking here, I sent you all an email. It's mainly just updates on the work going on in the construction. The Public Safety Center down here is still on schedule very well. So I think I sent that in an email, but if anybody'd like to go through the building, there really is quite a bit of work going on inside of it. You begin to tell a little bit about the functional areas and all that of the building. So anytime you want to take a look, let Stan know or me know, and we'll get you a hard hat and get you over there and take a look at it.
Okay.
I think that's all I have at this time, Mayor.
The building's looking really nice.
It's going to be, it does. It looks really nice.
It's going to
be a
transform downtown.
major, hopefully, compliment to downtown.
Okay. Item 16 is adjournment.
So moved.
All right. Thanks.
Second.
Thank you. Would you call for the vote, please?
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith, yes,
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you for coming.